A young woman in the U.S. state of Georgia says she was stopped from purchasing at her local Apple store after she was heard speaking Persian. The sales representative cited an Apple policy to not sell products to anyone from Iran. U.S. law prohibits goods being exported to Iran under its trade embargo. Apple gave the following statement to Al Jazeera. Our retail stores are proud to serve customers from around the world of every ethnicity. Our teams are multilingual and diversity is an important part of our culture. We don't discriminate against anyone. Well, the National Iranian American Council says Apple stores are overzealously enforcing U.S. sanctions. Joining me now from Washington is Jamal Abdi, a policy director for the NIAC. Jamal Abdi, Apple says they don't discriminate against anyone. So, I mean, is this a case of an overzealous, poorly trained sales assistant not really understanding U.S. export controls?
We don't know if this is the case because Apple hasn't issued any sort of statement about whether or not their policy is to racially profile Iranian Americans or people of Iranian descent in order to enforce their sanctions regulations. The fact of the matter is it is illegal to export items to Iran, and this was the basis for the employee's decision. However, the way that the employee arrived at this decision seems to be based on ethnic profiling. And now we're hearing that there are other incidents of this happening at other Apple stores. So it's incumbent on Apple to issue some sort of directive to make it clear this is not the policy of Apple to be profiling Iranians and Iranian Americans at its stores to deny them its products.
Yeah, in the meantime, your organization, the National Iranian American Council, has written to Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple. What are you calling on Tim Cook and Apple to do then?
Well, we really want to make sure that this is nipped in the bud and this doesn't happen again. As somebody who has himself shopped at an Apple store, I don't want to have to go into an Apple store and worry about covering up my ethnicity or refrain from speaking in Farsi. So he needs to do something to make it very clear that this is a case of vigilante sanctions enforcers and that Apple's not going to be enforcing sanctions at the retail level.
Isn't the wider issue here, though, that, I mean, these export controls are extremely vague and they've been around for many, many years, from the Cold War years?
Yeah, absolutely. And, this is really the heart of the problem. I think that, what we should be doing is showering Iran with iPhones and iPads and making it as available as possible for Iranians to communicate freely. I mean, we know how important social media and technology was in 2009 when the Iranian people took to the streets to protest against the government. But the fact is we have these broad sanctions in place that are increasingly broad and very vague, and these private companies don't necessarily understand how they need to comply with the sanctions. So, for instance, we have in Iran a lot of Google, Yahoo, GoDaddy not making their services available to Iranians, and this is despite the White House taking some efforts to try to clarify, look, we're trying to make exemptions so that these sanctions don't apply to this technology. Bottom line is, when you have broad sanctions like this, there are going to be unintended consequences. There's going to be collateral damage. But both private companies and the U.S. government need to take better steps to clarify the ambiguities and make sure that this doesn't manifest itself in racial profiling and discrimination.
All right, Jamal Abdi, thank you for talking to Al Jazeera.